Hello, welcome to the Unplayable Podcast, the third test in Jamaica between the West Indies and Australia. Day one is complete and it's the pink ball test. Lots of action on day one, and to join me, Josh Schonafinger, in dissecting it, Jack Paynter is over there. He's been at Sabina Park and lots of action in that final session, Jack.
There certainly was, Josh, and we kind of knew it was coming. We could see from the outset, the first ball, that sort of final session is, Smith's trying to go after it. So showed the clear intent there, and it moved a lot all day, even in the afternoon session with the new ball, as we kind of expected with the Duke's ball. Then the spinners sort of got a bit of turn in the middle session, and then more seam in the evening session. So tough work being a batter for sure against this pink Duke's ball.
What was the biggest moment of day one?
Well, Josh, I think the biggest moment was actually before the game itself. Australia's call to leave out Nathan Lyon. First time they've done it in 12 years, which, he's just been such an automatic selection when fit for so long that it was kind of flagged by Pat Cummins the day before, but we kind of all left that press conference thinking, oh, surely it's not going to happen. They couldn't leave him out. But they did, and here we are. So I think that was kind of the moment of the day, and time will tell if it was the right call or whether it wasn't. If Australia end up winning the game, sort of a moot point really, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, especially with that turn that we saw from Jamel Warwick and Roston Chase during the middle session. As sort of the great Shane Warne always said, if it seams, it spins. So there's certainly a little bit on offer there for the spinners.
Well, definitely a lot to like from all bowlers, from what I saw. And the broadcast said that they were getting up to 6 degrees of spin, those finger spinners, Warwick and Chase. So that's a lot for day one, second session.
Up to 3 degrees of seam movement as well. That's just a nightmare, sort of being a batter with you facing 6 degrees of spin and 3 degrees of seam, averaging 1 degree. So certainly no surprises that we saw 11 wickets fall on day one.
Australia worked their way up to 2 for 120, Jack. It was tough going, but Khawaja faced 92 balls. Sam Constas faced 53. They did the job of an opener, I guess you'd say. How did you rate their performance at the top today?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid, actually. The ball was moving a lot. Like, it was probably moving too far to actually get them out in the first hour. So they batted through the first hour without losing a wicket, which was the first time they've managed to do that on day one this series. But then sort of the movement, not dried up, but it sort of reduced a little bit. And that's when they started to find the edge and find the stumps. We saw Cameron Green bowled with a ball that, didn't move that much, but it just moved enough to beat the edge and take the top of the off stump. So I think that's probably going to be the biggest challenge, not the, exaggerated seam movement, but rather the little seam movement that, just moves enough to beat the, one half of the bat.
Yeah, there was a nice little graphic shown on the broadcast, wasn't there? It just moved enough, half a bat length, or half a bat width. That's a lot you need to do. Steve Smith got to 48, hit 8 fours, looked pretty good, and he was distracted by a clock midway through his innings. Jack, what happened there? Was it ticking too loudly for him?
Well, he gets distracted by anything, doesn't he, Steve Smith? But I think this clock was not designed for day-night test cricket, because there was a bit of glare coming off the lights, upgraded lights at Sabina Park too. Those LEDs look pretty good, although they're quite low, so they're reflecting off the clock. And it was actually the captain, Pat Cummins, who came to the rescue with a black cloth that they sort of tied around this clock. And Smith was able to carry on, but not for too long, unfortunately for Australia, because he nicked off shortly after to Shamar Joseph, sort of looking to go after him and sort of up the ante in the final session. We spoke to him post-play and sort of asked him about that approach, because we saw it from all Australian batters in that final session. It was kind of go after the ball that's in your area and try and get as many runs as you can before there's a ball with your name on it.
Looked to be a pretty good plan, because when Shamar Joseph, he took 4 wickets, and Jaden Seals, he took 3, when they got it right, as you say, there's probably nothing they could do about it. But Alzari Joseph, he was one of the West Indians who only bowled 7 overs. He went off the field. Jack, what was the latest on him?
We think it's a bit of a back issue. We're not too sure. He did come back out in the final session, but because he'd been off for so long, he wasn't able to bowl. And it was quite funny when the West Indies came out to bat, both their openers had actually got injured and were no longer at the ground. They were at the hospital getting scanned. So they'd actually dropped Craig Brathwaite, who just played his 100th test last match. but Mikhail Louis, who came in for him, hurt his knee trying to field a ball, so he was in hospital. And then John Campbell, he took a blow to the body fielding at short leg, so he was also in hospital. So they had to send out Kevlon Anderson, who was on debut and listed to bat at number 3, and then Brandon King, who was at number 4 to open. So quite a remarkable sort of turn of events there late in the day.
Yeah, pretty stiff when you're on debut and you're expecting to walk out number 3 and you get the nod, oh, no, sorry, mate, you're going to be opening today. That's a bit rough. But he only lasted a couple of balls. Mitch Starc, he had to wait until the final hour to get a bowl in his 100th Test match, and he did what he's done for so many years.
Yes, still bowling 145 kilometres an hour plus, big hooping in swing. It's tough ask for any batter, let alone a young guy on debut. But yeah, he finally got the radar right, hit the stumps, and then that was sort of left the West Indies one for 16 at the close of play. But yeah, Mitchell Starc, he hasn't dropped an ounce of speed across those 100 tests. That was some seriously quick bowling tonight.
It was a really tricky 9 overs that the West Indies had to face. They finished on 1 for 16. It felt like they could have lost a couple more, but I mean, credit to King, who's been a real star this series for the Windies, and Roston Chase got them through to the close, 1 down, and now they get to bat in the best time of day on day 2, Jack.
Yeah, they toughed it out, and it could be an interesting, start to day 2, because those guys are quite aggressive, and they're not just going to sit there and defend, even if there is a lot of seam movement. So we could either see a lot of wickets quickly, or these guys could get a few away, and suddenly the West Indies are looking at a first innings lead. Because as we know, that sort of afternoon session and then sort of after tea, we'll call it the evening session, I guess, are kind of the best times to bat. I don't know what it is really. I think sight under lights for a batter makes it a bit trickier to face the pink ball. And then obviously Steve Smith was talking post-play about how the ball sped up off the pitch under lights because, I think they were slowing up to 10 kilometres during the day, but then that was only 6 kilometres under lights. So the ball comes off the pitch a bit faster, which makes it trickier for batting.
Wow. Yeah, okay. I didn't even consider that sort of factor. And what about the lights, Jack? I know that they've been redeveloped and remodeled, but are they actually bright enough? On TV, they don't look like they're super bright.
It's a bit of a thing with West Indies grounds, I think, because I remember last year when I was watching the T20 World Cup, the outside the boundary rope, it looks dark on TV, but sort of in the ground, I thought, the lights were fine. You could sort of see enough in the middle. Obviously not as good as batting during the day, but these particular light towers are quite low. They're not as high as what you'd see at Australian grounds. So I think that has more of an impact potentially with fielding. If the ball goes up above the lights, it might be harder to spot in the night sky. But yeah, I think just generally it's just harder to bat or harder to see the ball at night, which might contribute to that. But yeah, the lights certainly felt bright enough from where I was sitting, but obviously I wasn't out in the middle facing a 145 kilometre an hour in swingers, was I?
No, and you sound pretty happy about that too. Now, Jack, Jamaica is famous for jerk chicken and saltfish and all sorts of curried goods. What did they serve up for you at lunch today?
Yeah, there was some jerk chicken and a goat curry as well with rice. So I had tried a bit of that. Also tried a bit of, there was a fish sort of coleslaw type thing. I didn't quite catch the name of it, but also grabbed some of that. So I had a bit of everything. Sort of washed it all down with a bit of fruit punch as well. Not the rum punch that we would have, after play, but during work hours was fruit punch, and they had a bit of pineapple lychee as well. So that was certainly got a run today.
Excellent, mate. Sounds like it's got your tick of approval. We'll check in with you after day 2. Thanks, mate.
Sounds good. Chat to you then, Josh.